Hello and welcome back to basic course in Maithili. This is lesson number 6.2 and we are going to learn about the simple sentences and also learn about sentence types in Maithili along with examples. So, let us begin with it. So, what are sentence types? Words joined together to make phrases and sentences. Similarly, the phrases also join together to make sentences. Every sentence can be categorized into some limited number of types based on either their structure or their function. Sentences can be small and simple. For our course, we will start with small and simple sentences. While we do so, we will put more focus on function than the structure. So, if we talk about structures, what are the different structural types of sentences in Maithili, English or anywhere in any language? It would be same, it is a universal feature. So, the first one is simple sentence, which contains a subject and a verb that expresses a complete thought. So, for example, in English, the dog barked is a full clause. It contains one subject, which is the dog, and a verb barked, and the whole of this together makes a full thought showing the action that the dog barked. The same thing in Maithili would be said as kutta bhuklak, where kutta is the dog and bhuklak is the past tense of the verb bark. So, the next structural sentence type is the compound sentence. The compound sentence combines two or more independent clauses with a conjunction. Conjunction means words like and, but, or, etc. So, in English, it would be the dog barked and the cat ran. So, here you have two different clauses and they are put together and then it becomes a compound sentence. The same thing in Maithili would be kutta bhuklak, a bilai bhagal. So, a is the conjunction and bilai bhagal is the another clause. So, two clauses putting together it makes a compound sentence. Then we have the complex sentence. A complex sentence would contain one independent clause and at least one dependent clause or subordinate clause. So, in the sentence the dog barked when the bell rang. So, here you see that the bell rang is the main clause and the dog bark is dependent on it, because the dog bark is the outcome of the action that is done by the other one. So, it is a subordinate clause. The same thing in Maithili would be ghanti bajla par kutta bhuklak, where ghanti is the word bell, bajla par, which is like say after ringing, and then kutta bhuklak, which is the dog barked. Then the fourth one is compound and complex sentence. That means you have a compound sentence, but at the same time there is also a subordinate clause inside one of those. So, a compound complex sentence would contain at least two independent clauses and at least one dependent clause. So, if we make the same sentence like a compound complex sentence, it would be the dog barked and the cat ran when the bell rang. So, two of the actions are being dependent on one. The same thing if we say it in Maithili, it would be ghanti bajla par kutta bhuklak, a bilai bhagal. Now, let us go to the functional types of sentences. So, why do we call it function? Because it denotes what type of a sentence and what kind of meaning it denotes. So, functionally also we divide the sentences in 4 types. The first one would be a declarative sentence, or we can call it as simple statements. So, these statements, they simply express an opinion and end with a period. So, for example, Ram eats mango, which means Ram aam khait chati in Maithili. It is a simple sentence. Similarly, in Maithili, Ham ghar jait chi, I go home is another example of simple statement. Then you have interrogative sentences or question sentences. These question sentences ask a question and end with a question mark. So, all questions are interrogative sentences. So, Bilai kata gel, that is a question which means where did the cat go? Ki aha ghar ja rahal chi, are you going home? That is another interrogative or question sentence. Then we also have imperative sentences, which basically indicate a command, a request or an instruction. These things are usually expressed through imperative sentences. So, let us say when you say khirki band kar diyo, please close the door, that is a imperative sentence. Aha emhar aao, you please come here, that is another imperative sentence because it is asking someone to come to somewhere. Then the last one is the exclamatory sentences, which basically express strong emotion or any kind of emotion or surprise and end with an exclamation mark. So, let us say for example, when you go somewhere and you are awestruck with a view, then you can say something like Wah katek sundar drisya aich, which means wow, what a beautiful view. So, this is like expressing your emotion and your happiness and elation with this. Or you want to show some kind of frustration when you are going somewhere and you are saying, oh my God, it is still so far. So, the same thing you can say it in Maithili and say, Hey Bhagwan, it ekhano bahut dur aich. So, these are the 4 functional types of sentences. Now, let us go to simple existential sentences. What are they? In Maithili, simple sentences usually start with existential verbs, which are mainly achi, chaik and chi. These verbs also act as auxiliary verbs when another verb is the main verb. They are also called existential verbs because they denote the presence of something, and if you want to negate it, it will denote the absence of something. All of these verbs mean the same thing, is, am, are. But that does not mean that am is anything equivalent to this, we will know it later. But they are all conditioned differently, and this is how we show it. So, let us look at this. How do we use the words achi, chati, chaik, chi and chai? They all mean the same thing, but they need a different subject in their person. They are all present tense, but they differ with the honorificity given to the subject or the object. So, achi is the same thing as is, am, are. It is a present tense marker, but it is used only when you have the subject as the third person and when you are being non-honorific. Then you have chati, which is present again, and it is third person again, but this time it is honorific. So, difference between achi and chati is that achi is non-honorific or honorificity agnostic, and then chati is honorific. Then you have chaik, which is again non-honorific. Then you have chi, which requires the subject or object to be non-third person. Non-third person means it can be first person or second person, and it is honorificity agnostic. That means there is no honorificity attached to it. And then you have chai, which is again third person, and it is non-honorific. We will know about it later, because honorificity is a very unique feature of Maithili, and as we go ahead with these things, this honorificity will keep on coming every now and then. So, let us look at some examples of existential simple sentences. So, when you say Hum Vidyarthi Chi, it is I am a student. Aha Shikshak Chi, you are teacher. Now, here aha is honorific. To Hamar Kakka Cha, you are my uncle. Now, here to is second honorific, and now here you see we have used another word cha, which was not written in the previous slide, but cha is another existential verb that goes with second person mid honorific subject. Tu hamar chhot bhai chha. Now, here you see tu is the non-honorific second person, and the agreement existential verb has changed to become chha. Then O hamar ghar chi, that is my house. O hamar babuji chati or chatin, that is my father. E hamar amak gach chi, this is my mango tree. E shikshak chati, he is teacher. Now, here the third person subject E has been used, but because the person being talked about shikshak is a respected person, that is why we are using chati as the honorific form. Then you have another one, which is E dabai chi. Now, dabai is a medicine, it is an object, there is no need of making any kind of honorificity here. So, you can simply say chi, E dabai chi. Now, let us look at the use of the word ach. In comparison with the above auxiliaries of chi and chati and its other forms, there is another auxiliary verb achi, which has the sense of to be present or to have. So, it is not just existential, it is also to be in possession of something, or be or having or feeling something of this kind. Let us see the examples. So, when we say katek pai ach, how much money is there? Now, here you see it is asking about the presence of pai, but in possession of someone, right. So, it is having both sense, existential and being in possession of something. And then we have pani ach, it is water. Let us say, for example, you went somewhere and saw that there is water, you can simply say pine ach. Dhipal ach, dhipal means hot, so it is hot. Bhasa gitatmak ach, the language is song like. So, it is like the language, it is both existential and something having a property of some kind. Manch par duta parda ach, there are two curtains on the stage. O ghar par nahi ach, he is not at home. Now, here the subject is O, he, and the word has been used as achi, which becomes a bit of non-honorific. Now, let us also see the use of the word chai. The word achi is often also written as chai, which may be considered either as a variation or kind of non-honorific. So, let us see some examples. So, when we say nahi chai, it is not there. Theek chai, it is okay. So, you can say nahi chai or nahi ach, both are the same. So, theek chai or theek ach, both mean the same thing. It is kind of a variation. Dhada ki rahal ach, it is burning. Baat soj nahi chai, the matter is not simple. Ehan sambhav nahi chai, this is not possible. Ki baat chai, what is the matter? I som din chai, it is Monday today. O ghar par nahi chai, he is not at home. It is to be noted that in all of these sentences we have used the word chai, but we can replace the word chai with achi with no change in the meaning, but it may sound a bit sweeter or a bit more polished or even a bit honorific to the listener. So, it is basically a sense of being a bit more polished. So, you can use both achi or chai, but it is always preferable to use achi. Now, there are also some restrictions on the use of the word achi. Achi cannot be used with the first person and second person pronouns when they are in nominative case. For example, you cannot say ham vidyarthi ach, this is wrong, you cannot say this. So, you have to say ham vidyarthi chi. Then aha vidyarthi ach, you cannot say that, this is wrong, you have to say aha vidyarthi chi. As we see here, when you use the verb achi or chai, the subject must be third person. Let us go to now number in Maithili. Grammatical number is not marked in Maithili. So, in English, as you see that, okay, if you are saying he, that is a singular, so you are going to say he goes. When you are saying they, then you have to say they go, you cannot say they goes. But in Maithili, that is not the case, it is same. So, unlike in English, Hindi or Sanskrit, Maithili brings no change in the verb form because of subject or object being singular or plural. Plurality is marked periphrastically, that is by adding a separate word sub or sob. So, if you have to make plural of the pronominal pronouns, so you can simply say hum sob, which would mean we. Hindi is wrong here, so let us read it as hum log. Tu sob, which would mean you all. To sob, aha sob, apne sob, e sob, o sob. So, that is how it keeps on going. You simply need to add sob or sob. How do you pluralize the nouns then? Are there any separate forms? So, you cannot say kutta and kutte. Kutte is plural marker in Hindi, but in Maithili you have to simply say kutta sob, which would mean dogs. So, kitab, kitab sob, bachcha sob, saap sob. There are also some specific words given to pluralize the thing. So, let us say for example, when you are saying boys and girls, you can simply denote it by saying dhiya puta. And when you are saying, let us say kawwa maina, it does not mean only kawwa and maina, it also means the other birds which are commonly found in the surrounding. When we say kutta bilai, which would mean the normal kind of pet animals that are found around. So, common street animals. Now, how do we negate simple sentences in Maithili? So, negation in Maithili is marked by the negative particle or the negative word nahi. Nahi can also be spoken and written as nahi in fast speech. In archaic Maithili, such as in Vidyapati's work or earlier works. Negation is also represented with the words like Juni, which means basically negation of permission. So, when you say something like "E kaam Juni karu," then that becomes this. So, for example, we can say "Hum vidyarthi nahi chi." I am not a student. So, here you have used the word nahi to negate it. Aha शिक्षक नहीं छी. You are not a teacher. तो हमर कक्का नहीं छ. You are not my uncle. तू हमर छोट भाई नहीं छ. You are not my younger brother. ओ हमर घर नहीं छी. That is not my house. ओ हमर बाबूजी नहीं छथि और छथिन. ई हमर आमक गाछ नहीं छी. ई शिक्षक नहीं छथि. ई दबाई नहीं छी. ठीक नहीं छै. धधक नहीं रहल छै. एकर कोनो समस्या नहीं छै. So all the sentences that you have seen in the previous parts of this lesson, they have all been negated here, and this is for your reference. You can continue with more practices. We also have something called negative quantifiers, which is a common feature. So, words like none, never, nothing, nowhere, etc. are called negative quantifiers. They are all basic English words and they show quantity as none. Maithili does not have separate words for the negative quantifiers. So, we do not need to worry too much about them. Negative quantifiers can be created with the corresponding pronoun or numbers, and the negative particle nahi is added to it. So, let us see some examples. Kono theek nahi ach. That is, none or no one is correct. Kyo hamar dost nahi ach. No one is my friend. Now, here in the first one you saw kono is the demonstrative pronoun showing any, and kyo is another demonstrative pronoun, indefinite pronoun showing any, but kyo basically refers to people. Then हम कखनो देरी नहीं होइत छी. I am never late. किछो परिपूर्ण नहीं होइत छै. Nothing is perfect. गेंद कतहु नहीं अछि. The ball is nowhere. एकोटा गाछ में आम नहीं अछि. There is no mango in any of the trees. So, with this we come to the lesson of 6.2, and we will continue with the possessive pronouns in the next lesson. Thank you.